Joining me in the studio is Doug Herbert, our international affairs commentator. Doug, in the US, NBC News has reported that a deal actually may have already been struck, and as a result, the pastor's release could have been secured. What more do we know?
Well, first of all, we know that it is just a report at this point, but it is saying that, the report at least saying that White House officials are optimistic that a deal may be in the offing, even as they say they do have some doubts that that is absolutely conclusive. Turkey has denied requests in the past to release the pastor, and it notably has offered in the past the release in exchange for the U.S. extraditing one of the arch nemesis of Erdogan, Fethullah Gulen, who is an exiled cleric living in Pennsylvania, who Erdogan blames basically for fomenting that abortive coup against Erdogan in October 2016. Now, what NBC is saying, we heard the State Department officials saying originally that they weren't aware that any deal had been struck. What NBC says is that on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly last month, there were meetings between both the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, and the National Security Advisor, John Bolton, with Turkish officials. Apparently, then it was struck. What we do know about Brunson is this pastor has become such a flashpoint in the Washington-Ankara relationship. It has not just soured the relationship, but it's been partially responsible for the slapping of sanctions by Washington on Turkey, sanctions which have contributed in large part to the Turkish lira's nosedive, lots of pressure on the Turkish economy. Now, Erdogan officially saying that he will obey whatever decision the judiciary takes. He's not involved. He doesn't meddle in justice. That said, we also know Erdogan is presumably extremely eager to see some alleviation to the woes of the Turkish economy, and if this could help alleviate that by allowing an easing of those U.S. sanctions, presumably he would welcome it.
Now, the pastor has become a cause célèbre, so to speak, among Trump's religious base, hasn't he?
He has, and we heard one of the most prominent among Vice President Mike Pence, we heard in that soundbite a few moments ago. He is an evangelical, and the Christian evangelical base of Trump are the ones who seem to really have latched on to this pastor's cause. He himself, Andrew Brunson, has lived in Turkey for a couple of decades. He's based in the western town of Izmir. He oversees a small Christian evangelical community there. There really is a sort of religious overtone, political/religious overtone to this entire case when you talk about him. When both Pence and Trump talk about him, make pronouncements about him, it's often been in addresses to Christian groups. And we know that that evangelical base has been extremely vital, first in helping elect Trump back in 2016, and presumably he'll be counting on them again to go to the polls in force, both for he's not running in the midterms, but for the midterms and eventually when he runs for re-election in 2020. So you can see it's not just about relations between Washington and Ankara. It also goes to sort of domestic politics in the U.S. But like I said, watch this space. This is, as of now, just a report by NBC. The U.S. has been disappointed in the past when they thought that perhaps his release could be imminent.
Doug